Insight: betrayal by someone we deeply trust can feel like a betrayal of our entire reality. It's not just the act itself that hurts, but the shattering of the bond and the emotional security we once had. This can cause feelings of anger, sadness, confusion, and self-doubt. Healing begins by acknowledging and fully understanding the emotional impact of the betrayal. Focus: understanding the emotional toll of betrayal is essential to start the healing process. It involves allowing yourself to feel the pain without suppressing or ignoring it. Insight: after being betrayed, it's common to turn the pain inward and blame ourselves for trusting the wrong person. Self-compassion is essential to healing. It involves being kind to yourself, not blaming yourself for someone else's actions, and recognizing that you deserve healing and happiness. Focus: practicing self-compassion helps you shift the focus from anger towards self-care, allowing for emotional recovery and growth. Insight: forgiveness doesn't mean excusing or forgetting the betrayal. It means freeing yourself from the emotional hold the situation has over you. Forgiveness is about reclaiming your peace and allowing yourself to move forward, not about reconciling with the person who hurt you. Focus: letting go of resentment through forgiveness is crucial for emotional freedom. It is a powerful tool for releasing yourself from the past. Insight: betrayal can make it difficult to trust again, not only others but ourselves. Healing involves learning to trust yourself and your ability to make sound decisions. It also includes understanding that trust is something that should be earned, but that doesn't mean shutting yourself off from others. Focus: healing allows you to rebuild trust in yourself, giving you the confidence to trust again while setting healthy boundaries with others. Insight: while betrayal is a painful experience, it can also be a catalyst for personal growth. Through healing, you learn resilience, wisdom, and the ability to embrace new beginnings. The process is not linear, but each step brings you closer to the person you're becoming, someone stronger, wiser, and more capable of navigating life's challenges. Focus: healing is not just about moving on from betrayal, but about using the experience as a springboard to a stronger and more fulfilling future. Betrayal cuts deeper than many people realize, because it doesn't just involve the breaking of trust, it shakes the very foundation of our emotional security. When someone we deeply trust betrays us, we often experience an overwhelming sense of loss, confusion, and hurt. Betrayal challenges our perception of the world, forcing us to confront difficult emotions we may not be prepared to handle. The pain can be both immediate and lingering, affecting not only our relationship with the person who betrayed us, but also our ability to trust others in the future. Shock and disbelief. The initial reaction to betrayal is often one of shock. This can't be happening, or how could they do this to me? These feelings of disbelief are common, especially when the betrayal comes from someone we never expected. The mind struggles to reconcile the betrayal with the image we held of the person and the relationship, making it hard to accept reality. Once the shock wears off, the intense emotions of anger and resentment often take over. The hurt turns into a desire for justice, for the other person to recognize the pain they've caused. Anger becomes a natural response to feeling wronged, and resentment can fester, especially when we feel the betrayal was avoidable or unnecessary. This anger can extend beyond the person who betrayed us, seeping into other areas of our life, making us distrustful of people or situations we were once comfortable with. In many cases, betrayal triggers a deep sadness, akin to mourning the loss of a loved one. We grieve the lost trust, the broken bond, and the idealized version of the relationship we thought we had. Sadness may lead to feelings of loneliness, as it can often isolate us from others. The emotional impact of betrayal is not only about feeling hurt, it's also about mourning the end of something that once felt secure and valuable. After the emotional aftermath, many people begin to internalize the pain and blame themselves. Maybe I should have known, I should have seen the signs, or how could I have been so naive? These self-critical thoughts only deepen the emotional wound. Guilt becomes intertwined with the pain of betrayal, and instead of focusing on healing, the individual may dwell on what they could have done differently. Perhaps one of the most profound effects of betrayal is the loss of trust, not just in the person who betrayed us, but in others as well. We question if anyone can truly be trusted, and sometimes we even lose trust in our own judgment. This creates a sense of vulnerability and insecurity, where the person feels uncertain about who to rely on in the future. The fear of being hurt again becomes paralyzing. Unlike other types of hurt, betrayal doesn't simply fade away with time. The emotional scars it leaves behind can remain for much longer, often resurfacing at unexpected times. This is because betrayal, especially from someone we hold dear, forces us to confront our own vulnerability. We start to question not only the other person's motives, but our own ability to make wise decisions. The internal conflict between wanting to forgive and being unable to trust again can create a long-lasting emotional struggle. Moreover, betrayal alters our worldview. It leaves a residue of doubt about the authenticity of future relationships. Even when we try to move on, the lingering questions, could this happen again? Or am I being deceived, haunt us, preventing us from fully healing. This emotional baggage can affect future relationships, making it harder to open up and trust again. To heal from betrayal, it's important to first recognize the full emotional impact it has on us. Acknowledging the hurt and allowing ourselves to feel the full weight of the emotions is the first step toward healing. Often we try to suppress the pain or ignore it, hoping it will go away on its own. However, this only prolongs the emotional distress. Healing begins with the recognition that betrayal is not our fault. It's a result of someone else's choices, and we must allow ourselves the space to feel the pain, anger, and grief without judgment. Accepting these emotions as part of the healing process can help us reclaim control over our emotional well-being. While the depth of betrayal can feel unbearable, it also offers an opportunity for personal growth. As we face the emotional impact, we begin to understand our own resilience, how much strength we possess, and how we can rise above the pain. Over time, healing after betrayal teaches us the importance of boundaries, self-respect, and the ability to trust ourselves again. The emotional impact of betrayal is deep, but it does not define who we are. It is through this pain that we find the strength to move forward, to rebuild trust, and to grow stronger. The journey may be long, but each step taken toward healing helps us reclaim our peace and allows us to rebuild a future free from the emotional chains of betrayal. When we experience betrayal, our emotions can become overwhelming. The pain, anger, sadness, and confusion can cloud our judgment and create a barrier to moving forward. In the midst of this, self-compassion becomes a crucial tool for healing. Self-compassion involves treating ourselves with the same kindness, care, and understanding that we would offer a close friend going through a similar struggle. Rather than judging or criticizing ourselves for being hurt, self-compassion encourages us to embrace our vulnerabilities, recognize our pain, and acknowledge that we are worthy of care and healing. It's the opposite of self-criticism, which are often natural responses after betrayal. Learning how to be compassionate toward ourselves is an essential step in breaking free from the negative emotions that hold us back from healing. The role of self-compassion in healing: reducing self-blame and shame. After betrayal, it's common to fall into the trap of self-blame. We ask ourselves, how could I have been so naive? Or why did I trust them? These thoughts feed into feelings of shame and unworthiness, making the healing process even more difficult. Self-compassion helps break this cycle. Instead of harsh self-judgment, we acknowledge that betrayal is not our fault. It's the result of someone else's actions, not a reflection of our worth or character. By practicing self-compassion, we can release the guilt and shame that often accompany betrayal, allowing us to focus on healing, providing emotional validation. Betrayal can lead to feelings of isolation, as if our pain is something we should hide or get over. However, self-compassion validates our emotions by acknowledging that it's okay to feel hurt, angry, or sad. These emotions are natural responses to betrayal. Instead of suppressing these feelings or pretending they don't exist, self-compassion allows us to honor them. We give ourselves permission to feel without guilt, allowing for emotional release and healing. The more we validate our emotions, the more we can accept ourselves and our emotions. The more we can accept ourselves in our vulnerable state, which is key to recovery. Encouraging patience with ourselves. Healing from betrayal is not an instant process. It requires time, and often we want to rush through the pain to move forward quickly. However, self-compassion teaches us patience. It reminds us that healing takes time and that we don't need to force ourselves to move on before we're ready. We learn to treat ourselves gently through this process, accepting that it's okay to take things one day at a time. When we are compassionate with ourselves, we release the pressure to get over it and instead embrace the healing process at a pace that suits our emotional needs. Practical ways to cultivate self-compassion. Mindful self-awareness. Mindfulness is the practice of being aware of our emotions and thoughts without judgment. When we experience betrayal, we often become overwhelmed by negative emotions. Mindfulness helps us observe these feelings without labeling them as bad or wrong. Instead of criticizing ourselves for feeling hurt, mindfulness allows us to accept these emotions as part of the healing process. By acknowledging our feelings with awareness and compassion, we take the first step in releasing the grip of pain and moving toward healing. Gentle self-talk. After betrayal, we often become our harshest critics. We tell ourselves things like, "I should have known better," or "I'm weak for being hurt." Practicing self-compassion means replacing these negative thoughts with gentle, supportive language. Instead of criticizing ourselves, we can say things like, "It's okay to feel hurt," or "This pain will pass, and I'm doing my best to heal." By using compassionate language, we start to create a more nurturing and supportive inner dialogue. Self-care as an act of compassion. Self-compassion involves taking intentional steps to care for ourselves, physically, emotionally, and mentally. This might include engaging in activities that bring us joy or relaxation, like reading, exercising, or spending time with loved ones. It can also involve setting boundaries with others, ensuring that we create a safe space for healing. When we engage in self-care, we are sending ourselves the message that we deserve love, care, and time to heal. Self-care becomes a tangible expression of self-compassion, embracing imperfection. Betrayal often leads us to believe that we are weak or flawed for trusting the wrong person. However, self-compassion teaches us that we are not defined by our mistakes or vulnerabilities. It's okay to have moments of weakness, and it's okay to feel hurt. We are all imperfect, and healing comes when we embrace our imperfections rather than criticizing ourselves for them. Self-compassion allows us to accept ourselves fully, our strengths and our flaws without judgment. The long-term benefits of self-compassion. Building emotional resilience. Practicing self-compassion not only helps us heal from betrayal, but also builds long-term emotional resilience. When we are kind to ourselves during difficult times, we strengthen our ability to cope with future challenges. Self-compassion teaches us that it's okay to feel vulnerable and that we can handle difficult emotions with care and patience. This resilience allows us to face future betrayals or setbacks with a sense of inner strength, knowing that we can heal and move forward each time. Improving relationships. As we become more compassionate with ourselves, we also become more compassionate toward others. Self-compassion nurtures our ability to empathize with those around us, leading to healthier and more fulfilling relationships. We learn to set healthy boundaries, communicate our needs, and recognize the importance of mutual respect. By healing ourselves through self-compassion, we also create the foundation for more positive connections with others. Conclusion: embracing self-compassion for true healing. Healing after betrayal is not just about moving on from the pain, it's about learning to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer a friend in need. Self-compassion allows us to acknowledge our pain, reduce self-blame, and embrace the healing process without rushing or criticizing ourselves. It is through this compassion that we find the strength to heal and move forward with a greater sense of inner peace. The power of self-compassion is transformative, not just for overcoming betrayal, but for building a life of emotional resilience, deeper self-love, and healthier relationships. Introduction: the true meaning of forgiveness. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful tools we have in our emotional arsenal, yet it is often misunderstood. Many people see forgiveness as something they do for the person who has wronged them, an act of absolution or a way to let someone off the hook. However, true forgiveness is not about excusing the actions of others or condoning harmful behavior. Instead, it is a deeply personal choice to release ourselves from the burden of anger, bitterness, and resentment. Forgiveness is freedom. Freedom from the past, freedom from emotional pain, and freedom to move forward. When we forgive, we are not saying that what happened was acceptable. We are choosing to no longer carry the emotional weight of that hurt. allowing ourselves to heal. Forgiveness is not condoning the wrong. One of the biggest misconceptions about forgiveness is that it means we must condone the actions of the person who betrayed or hurt us. Many people fear that forgiving someone implies that they are excusing bad behavior or somehow minimizing the pain caused. However, forgiveness does not mean that we forget what happened or that we agree with the hurtful actions. In fact, forgiveness acknowledges the harm done and the emotional impact it has had on us. Key insight: forgiveness is not about letting the wrongdoer off the hook. It's about releasing ourselves from the toxic grip of anger and hurt. By forgiving, we are saying, I will not let this person's actions define my emotional state or my future. Forgiveness is not about the other person, it's about you. It's about choosing to no longer allow their actions to control your emotions, thoughts, or life. The freedom forgiveness brings. When we choose to forgive, we are taking back control over our lives. Holding on to anger and resentment is like carrying around a heavy burden, one that weighs us down and limits our emotional well-being. Every time we think about the betrayal or wrongdoings, we relive the hurt and prolong the pain. Forgiveness offers us a way to release that burden, not by denying the hurt, but by choosing to let go of the control that anger or bitterness has over us. Key insight: forgiveness is liberation. It frees us from the chains of past hurt, allowing us to live in the present and move forward with peace. It is like unshackling yourself from an emotional prison that prevents you from living fully. Forgiveness is self-healing. While it may seem counterintuitive, forgiveness is more for you than it is for the person who wronged you. Holding on to anger and resentment can affect your mental and physical health, leading to increased stress, anxiety, and even chronic illness. These negative emotions drain your energy and hinder your ability to experience joy and fulfillment in your life. Key insight: forgiving is an act of self-care. It allows you to heal, to clear the emotional clutter in your heart, and to create space for peace, love, and growth. When you forgive, you free yourself from the negative emotional attachments that hurt your well-being. In this sense, forgiveness is not about forgetting the wrong done to you. It is about healing and reclaiming your peace. It allows you to let go of the grip of the past, which in turn enables you to focus on what you can control, your present and future. The process of forgiveness is not always easy, especially when the hurt runs deep. It is a process, one that requires time, effort, and emotional courage. Here are some steps to help guide the process of forgiveness. Acknowledge the pain. Like Allah, the first step toward forgiveness is to fully acknowledge the pain caused by the betrayal. Allow yourself to feel the hurt and understand that it is a natural response. Denying the pain only prolongs the healing process. Understand the root of the hurt. Take time to reflect on why the betrayal or hurt affected you so deeply. Was it the sense of betrayal, the violation of trust, or the loss of something important? Understanding the root cause helps you separate the person's actions from your own emotional response. Decide to forgive. Runner, forgiveness begins with a conscious decision to let go of the resentment. This may take time, and it may require emotional work. You may not feel ready to forgive immediately, and that's okay. The decision to forgive is a commitment to emotional freedom, and sometimes it takes time to arrive at that decision. Release the anger. Release the anger. This step requires emotional effort. You may need to consciously let go of the anger and bitterness you feel. Visualize releasing the emotional hold that the betrayal has on you. This step is crucial for your healing and emotional well-being. Choose to move forward. Forgiveness is not about staying in the past or expecting things to go back to how they were. It's about choosing to move forward with peace in your heart regardless of the past. It's about choosing to move forward with peace in your heart regardless of the past. Creating space for new opportunities, relationships, and happiness. Forgiveness is empowering. Choosing to forgive makes you stronger, not weaker. It shows emotional resilience and a commitment to living a healthy, peaceful life. When we forgive, we are taking control of our emotional responses rather than allowing the actions of others to dictate how we feel. Forgiveness empowers us to rise above the hurt and to reclaim our inner strength. It is a sign of emotional maturity and wisdom, showing that we value our own peace more than the ongoing conflict or resentment. Key insight: forgiveness empowers us to live a life of peace, to make choices based on love rather than fear, and to embrace a future unburdened by past wrongs. Conclusion: forgiveness as a path to freedom. Forgiveness is a gift we give to ourselves. It is not a form of weakness or acquiescence, but a profound act of emotional strength. When we forgive, we are setting ourselves free from the emotional grip of betrayal and hurt. Forgiveness allows us to reclaim our peace, heal our hearts, and move forward in life with resilience. By choosing forgiveness, we are choosing freedom. Freedom from the past, freedom from anger, and freedom to live with joy and hope for the future. Key insight: true freedom comes from letting go of what no longer serves us, and forgiveness is the key that unlocks that freedom. It is a powerful, liberating act that heals the heart and opens the door to new beginnings. Betrayal can feel like an earthquake, shaking the foundation of our emotional world. When someone we trust deeply betrays us, it often leaves us questioning everything. What went wrong? Why didn't I see it coming? How could I have trusted them? The aftermath of betrayal isn't just about healing the relationship with the person who hurt us. It's also about healing our relationship with ourselves. One of the greatest casualties of betrayal is often trust, both trust in others and trust in ourselves. To heal and move forward, we must rebuild that trust, starting with trusting ourselves again. Rediscovering this self-trust is an essential part of reclaiming our peace and moving past the emotional scars of betrayal. The loss of self-trust after betrayal. After experiencing betrayal, it's common to feel a profound loss of self-trust. We begin to question our judgment and decision-making. How did I miss the red flags? Or why didn't I see it coming? These questions can flood our minds, leading us to doubt our own instincts. The more we focus on our perceived failure, the more we erode our confidence and self-worth. We may even blame ourselves for being too trusting or naive. Key insight: betrayal doesn't reflect a lack of wisdom or judgment on your part. It reflects the actions of the person who hurt you. Rebuilding self-trust means understanding that your judgment wasn't flawed. It was trusting the wrong person. Self-doubt after betrayal is normal, but it's essential to realize that it's a temporary phase, not a permanent loss of judgment. The importance of self-forgiveness in rebuilding trust. One of the key steps in rediscovering trust, especially in ourselves, is practicing self-forgiveness. We are often our own harshest critics after betrayal, replaying every moment where we feel we should have known better. Self-forgiveness is about releasing the guilt and self-blame that accompany those thoughts. It's recognizing that in trusting someone, we were not naive, we were open, hopeful, and compassionate. The problem lies not in our ability to trust, but in the betrayal itself. By letting go of guilt, you free yourself from the emotional chains that keep you stuck in regret and self-blame. Forgiveness allows you to move forward without being burdened by the past. It's important to acknowledge that we are all human and make mistakes, but those mistakes do not define us or our future relationships. By forgiving yourself, you allow space for healing and growth. Rediscovering trust in yourself through self-reflection. Healing and rediscovering trust in ourselves is an intentional process. It starts with self-reflection, taking time to understand why we were hurt and how we can grow from the experience. This isn't about obsessing over the betrayal, but about taking a step back to assess our emotional responses and actions. Self-reflection helps us gain clarity about our values, boundaries, and needs. By reflecting on the relationship and how we can protect ourselves moving forward, we begin to understand that trust isn't blind. It's about setting healthy boundaries, listening to our inner voice, and learning from past mistakes. Key insights: self-reflection teaches us how to differentiate between healthy trust and unhealthy trust. It helps us recognize patterns and gives us the wisdom to trust ourselves when making future decisions. Setting boundaries to rebuild trust. When we've been hurt, one of the most empowering ways to rebuild trust in ourselves is by setting strong boundaries. Boundaries are the lines we draw to protect our